Hello and welcome to Coffee and Bonsai with Tom. Today we're going to prune my Portulacaria Afra forest. I don't exactly have a name for this one picked out yet. I'm thinking Lodgepole Pine Forest because I have so many trees in here. I think I'll have to go really tall. But let's take a look at it. You can see it's grown a lot since we last pruned it, which I think was sometime last summer. You can look in my playlist and see that. But it's really thickened up. And part of the reason I want to prune it is I've had a slight problem with a few mealybugs. Not a lot, but some here and there. You can see there's a carcass of one. And, so I find pruning is, if it needs pruning, it's a good time to do it because you're sort of getting rid of their habitat. So here, let me show you what I use here. This is just a spray bottle from during the time of COVID. And I've got some 70% isopropyl alcohol, and I just hit it like that. So there you go. It's kind of a nice system delivery mechanism because I have this small bottle and I can just hit real fine with wherever they are. You need to hit the bugs directly with the alcohol to kill them because it evaporates quickly and then it's gone, which is part of the reason I like it. Before we get started, something happened to me that I want to share. It doesn't have anything to do with bonsai, but um, well, let me just tell you, I was walking my dog. She's tiny, Mabel. You've heard her on the channel quite a few times. She's about 18 pounds. Friendliest dog ever. Super, super social. And I was taking her on a walk in the neighborhood, and I came across this large dog, probably 55, 60 pounds. A beautiful dog. And yeah, we walked by, and this dog just viciously attacked Mabel, just kind of like latched onto her neck. And I was just, you know, panicked. So I immediately grabbed the dog. I mean, Mabel was just screaming. And I stuck my fingers in its mouth and kind of grabbed its lower jaw and its upper jaw. And the owner was also helping me and just trying to pry its mouth open because it was just like locked on. And I mean, it seemed to go on forever, but I got, we managed to open the dog's mouth, and then of course I immediately grabbed her, and she's fine. I mean, I can't believe how lucky we were. But she wasn't bleeding. I was bleeding, and the owner was bleeding from, working with this mouth. I mean, it was a pit bull. They have a big mouth, and so my whole thumb is very numb. And like I was joking with the guy, it's like, hey, I work with my hands. You see my hands a lot on this on this channel because it's a sort of a faceless YouTube channel. So I'm like, hey man, my hands are my business. And so, I tried to kind of um I don't know, joke around a bit when it was over, because, luckily all of us were relatively okay. He was kind of badly bitten in his hand and it was bleeding a fair amount. So I don't know what you do with that, but anyway, if I'm a little off today, that's probably why. But we're all fine, and hopefully it hasn't uh, curbed my dog's kind of bubbly, um, outgoing personality any. But let's get back to the bonsai. So here we go. We'll just start right in. You can see I've got a lot of long growth on this thing. And, my inspiration for this, at least currently, is, like lodgepole pine. So kind of a forest of very tall, skinny, maybe sparse trees. I don't know. I'm going to start with this front tree here and we'll go from there. And, there's a lot of trees in this forest, it's kind of a small forest. So I don't have a whole lot of options other than to have these sort of tall pine-like trees. And, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe ports aren't the best choice for that, but I'm gonna try it. I mean, they're certainly growing well, so I think if I just keep cutting it back. Now, I haven't done a lot of, um, branch selection on this forest yet, so we'll do a little bit of that today. But I think what I mainly want to do is just crank it back and get it more into these kind of tall conical forms and just set it up for growing in the future. So, you can see I've got just a lot of growth on the top, and you can really see how these trees um, prefer to grow, close to the sun. So they really take off in the top. So you really want to, take care of that. And yeah, so I've got a lot of, I'm just trying to see what I've got here. Yeah, there's just a lot of growth that came out the top, and I want to reduce that down. You can see these cuttings are pretty long. I really want to reduce that down to, just one coming out the top and really kind of set it up for future growth. I think I'm happy with the overall height of these. I think last time I pruned it, I really did some adjustment on that. So I don't think I want to work with the height too much. I really just want to thin it all down and, tame it, tame the forest, because it is really just its entire shape and charm is completely lost in um, this abundant growth at the moment. And so anything coming forward, it's kind of the stuff I mentioned a lot on the channel. Anything that's coming forward, like this is coming straight forward. So at a minimum, I want to cut it to have it make a right or a left, or maybe even take it completely off. And here I've got something that's just straight up, parallel to the trunk. So you want to get rid of that. And you're really just trying to create, these nice lines and just bring it in tight. You can see I've got this long growth and I want more branching closer in. So I just cut it back. Don't even think about it. Just cut it back to I'm going to go with one set of leaves on this because I want it to be really, really tight. Maybe in the bottom I won't go that far, but especially with if you want to keep the trees small and kind of intricately developed, it really is important to keep them pretty well pruned because otherwise they'll, like I said, they'll tend to grow vigorously in the top, and then the top will get fat, and then you'll have to sort of cut that out and regrow the top, which isn't horrible, but I'd rather not have to do that. And I think this one is, I'm definitely getting that lodgepole look. It's very tall. Um, and, I think this is just sort of, I'm really just growing these on. I want them to thicken up and get much more established in the pot. So, yeah, the primary goal is to just sort of get them pruned and set them up for the next phase of growth. Yeah, so I think that tree is pretty good, and so we'll start working on the second tree. You may have seen me like I don't know, I call it sort of the hand trick. You kind of stick your hand behind the tree, and that really allows you to see it. I mean, of course, it's easier in real life because it's three-dimensional. I think it's harder on video, so it's one of the reasons I do it is so you can clearly see, the definition of the tree. Um, but you can also stick a piece of paper back there or something if it helps you, to see. But I can I can sort of, once you get the main shape established, you're really just kind of pruning it back to the area and direction where you want new growth. So I'm just I've got some bar branches here. I'm just gonna make some decisions and take some of those out. I've got some stuff growing to the front here that I don't like. Um, and kind of want to simplify the top. This is just sort of a tiny little tree, and as such, you really want to pick your branches well because you're probably not going to have that many, so it really kind of gives you the impression of the tree. Oh, this guy in the right has really gone wild. So I'm just going to take this right back. I might not even want that. I normally share cuttings. I don't think I'm going to off this tree. I mean, I think I do have the scale under control, but the last thing I want to do is send something out to somebody that causes the problem. So the fact that I have some questions about that and this forest, I am not going to, yeah, I'm not going to share these cuttings, even though they've got some nice big ones. It's funny. This is the first the most trouble I've had with insects in the winter, like when I'm first bringing them in. Uh, yeah, since I've been doing this, and it's not out of control, but it's just it is relentless, especially if you get mealy bugs just seem to come back again and again, and they've never gotten out of control, but what you'll find is like little pockets of them where it kind of exploded in an area, right? And you get that under control, but it's very hard to get them all. It's shocking to me. Like every day I look at not this tree, I'll feature a tree in the future. This one had just I think basically one or a couple had kind of gone from the plant having a problem and kind of wandered over to this new condo over here in the forest. And had a few problems. So moving on to this back tree, just kind of chopping it back. Um, yeah, so I don't think it's definitely not. I mean, this looks quite healthy, and I'm not seeing much of anything here. But anyway, I was just want to share my tale of woe. Boy, we've got dog attacks, mealy attacks. I've had some scale and mealy on this one I was talking about, which, like I said, I'll do a video in the future and give you some tips about how I deal with that. Um, But yeah, I saw a little there. So, this is kind of what I do with this. If I see anything, I just kind of give it a little bit of a hit. I mean, of course, you can see the large mealy bugs, but, um, the larvae, the real tiny ones, they sort of lay eggs. And I feel like those are so small that they're not easy to see. So, and the alcohol doesn't seem to hurt these plants at all. So, I kind of just do a bit of overspray heavily occasionally especially if I see, more than one bug. I just kind of throw the nuclear option at them. But yeah, now moving on to the back here. And really, this is just kind of long, leggy growth. A lot of this kind of shot out when I brought the tree in the fall. So I'm just kind of cutting it back because, these super long branches I'm not really going to need. And, this tree is, I don't, I mean, the trunks will get bigger over time, but I'm really looking to sort of refine this and start having it look more like a forest. I'm not looking for, a ton of new growth and to thicken things up other than what'll happen naturally by, just the tree um, growing year round and getting cut back. So, yeah, I'm just tuning it up and thinning it out and simplifying things as we go on this tree. And, with the added benefit of, I think I already mentioned, when I have bug problems, if it needs pruned, I really like to prune it because I like to think that I'm probably chucking away a good bit of my problem out in the compost outdoors. So there's that option too. I'll tell you, it always amazes me in these forests. I've only been pruning this for a couple minutes and it's much, much better already. I mean, it's quite shocking to me how just some tidying up with some simple basic rules and pruning really kind of gets you back to something that, is much more appealing and you can actually, see. So this one has a lot of growth on it. It's kind of like it's sort of my secondary tree, right? It's the second largest tree and it has a lot of foliage on it. So I'm going to try to simplify it down a bit. I'm not sure I've ever done much structural pruning on this one. Some of the trees, this forest is not that old and all of these came from cuttings of a larger tree, which I'll put a link to the parent tree in the channel in the details of this video. But yeah, a little bit of white stuff on there too. I don't like to see the yeah. So these were all just branches that I had reduced off that, and I stuck them in this pot, and they readily rooted, and they're kind of getting stronger and stronger. So yeah, it's I think it's come out. It was something that I just sort of like, I'll just put them in this pot and see what happens. And I think it's kind of turning out pretty well. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think the pot is the greatest choice here. I don't think I've shown the full size of the pot in this video yet. I'll pick it up, but it's really thick. It's way overkill, I think, um, for this forest. So, at some point I'll put it into a much thinner pot. I tend to kind of like oval pots, but I think the sort of the tall, skinny style tree, it'll work with an oval, but I think it also works with this more masculine kind of rectangular shape. So we'll see. Yeah, got another slight issue there. So I'll definitely be spraying this tree when we're done, and I'll show you how I kind of do that. Like I said, there's not much on here, and it could just be from I had actually taken this and sprayed the tar out of it with soap, and and then kind of rinsed it, and so the I'm not really seeing any what looks like new damage, but like I said, I'll just spray it just for the heck of it. Um, but yeah, I think in the getting back to the pot discussion, I'll definitely be putting this in a different pot at some point. And I think I will go with a rectangular pot. I'll just have to keep an eye out for it. I really do like this pot. I just wish it weren't so deep. It really is kind of out of scale for the tree. So let me clean this up. We'll do a little bit of the thought for the day. I think if I combine my dog story and now my mealybug story with this forest is yeah, like how sometimes life throws things at you that are not overly pleasant, but they can be an opportunity to strengthen our skills, like in dealing with these mealybugs, or our resolve, or maybe I've learned something around being much more cautious around strange dogs. I don't know. So I always try to take um, adversity, whether it's in bonsai or just life in general, and just try to get something positive out of it. Like even if you have a tree that dies, for example, if you figure out what was the cause, why did this tree die, or at least an explanation that makes sense to you. And then you can refine your technique or treatment of the tree, or at least you have another issue to look out for. And, like dealing with insects, it's all very much, kind of learning what other people do and what works for you and what you're comfortable doing. I don't particularly like systemics, for example, because I'm worried about what chemicals are in there, especially since these are in my house and an area where I'm normally looking at. I think this looks great. Look at this. Yeah, we can see each trunk. We've got a nice triangle here, and we've got a secondary triangle over here. I think it could. I probably will have to put it in a bigger pot at some point and spread it out because I'm not sure I'm going to have enough room. But I'm going to go with this as long as I can. I was thinking maybe shorten this one, but I don't know. I think if I'm going for that lodgepole look, I definitely want, more height rather than less. So I think I'm going to keep that height for now. And I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is that? 7? 7 trees, which is always a nice number. Yeah, and I'm pleased with how this came out. This one could probably use a little more refinement. I'm going to do that final spin. Make sure that I've cut off everything I want to, and then we will take a victory lap. But yeah, I'm really impressed with how this is coming out. Like I said, these were basically cuttings I was going to throw away, and now I have what I think is eventually going to be a charming little forest here. I think that's about it for the pruning. We may see something else in the victory lap. Let's do a spin here. You can see it from the right. They're kind of in a line, but not too bad. They're off center, and then we see it from the back. It's got a good look from the back. And on to the left side. Looks good. I think it's got a nice shape all around. So I think that's a pretty good pruning. We're ready for some further growth. and we will take it from there. Let's take a look at the cuttings. It took a lot off. I mean, this is probably, again, I don't know, 90% of the foliage, maybe more. That's a lot of green down there. Um, but, you want to make omelets, you got to break a few eggs. And let's finish up. I'll show you how I do this spray. I just kind of hold my hand back here and just give it a hit on each tree. On the off chance I get something. You want to be careful you don't get this in the soil, because I have killed trees where if you saturate the soil with rubbing alcohol, it will kill the tree as it gets into the roots. And I just hold my hand back there to see what's going on, and also to prevent the spray from going over. And looks fabulous. Nice wet sheen. And with that, I want to thank you for spending time with me, and I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon.